Hi guys and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're back once again, and no, it's not been a Formula 1 race weekend this weekend for the first time in 3. Unbelievable stuff. But I thought, just to keep the ball rolling with the Crawl Room series, we've had 3 races now. I think that's a fair assessment to where we can start judging the teams and how they've delivered in the first 3 rounds and what we can expect coming from the next triple header after this week's break. So we're going to kick things off in reverse order. So we're going to start from the bottom of the constructors and work our way up, and we're going to score them accordingly. 10 points for if you've done an absolutely stunning job, and 0 points if you've done a really pathetic job, and all the points in between, of course. So we're going to kick things off with Williams, the only team not yet to score a point in the championship after the first 3 rounds, which is unbelievable to think, really. You know, last year there was a lot of cars, and previous years especially, where cars didn't score any points at all. A lot of teams never scored points at all. But this time, we've had a really good start to the season. First 3 rounds, all but one team have finished in the points at least once. And that is Williams, unfortunately. Now, we say unfortunately, but their season from last year to this is a massive step up from where they were. It's been an incredible performance from them. We've seen a double qualifying into Q2 at the last round at Hungary, by Latifi getting 15th and, of course, George Russell taking 12th. In the Stryian Grand Prix, we saw George Russell finishing 12th there as well in the qualifying results. And it's been impeccable, just missing out in the first one. They've really stepped up the game. Now, of course, we're going to say they've stepped up the game, but is it just that the Ferrari engines have slipped back? Of course, they're now legal, and they've taken the illegal bits off them. So does that mean that, of course, the likes of Alfa and Haas have dropped down the order? Yes, it does. But that still doesn't take away that the impeccable performance that Williams have done to turn it around. They're looking solid, that they've got Latifi and Russell, of course, for next year now, as well as the remainder of this season, which is brilliant. We need some consistency in that team. We need the same drivers back to back, because that's what's going to build you the reliability and everything around you. The structure of the team is going to be built around those 2 drivers for 2 seasons now. Get some familiarity and they're going to do really well. I do expect points to be coming, maybe not within the next 3 races, with Silverstone being a particularly long circuit. But potentially for other short circuits coming up in the calendar. Imola being announced as well recently. I do see points in the future for them, and I do see points for both cars as well if they get it right on the day, where there's maybe a lot of high rate of attrition, or perhaps, you know, they just find some magical pace somewhere. But the way that they're going, it's been fantastic so far, and it's been brilliant to see. So yeah, no points on the board just yet, but from where they were in the first 3 races last season, it's impeccable. It's a massive step up. So Williams, I'm going to award you a solid 7 points. I'm going to be a little bit harsh on you just because of the fact that Russell did retire from the Austrian Grand Prix, and had it not been for that, that would have been points straight away from the first race, without a doubt. So unfortunate there that you cost yourself points in that situation. But apart from that, with that one reliability issue, they've really stepped up the game, and fair play to Williams for that. A massive respect to them. So 7 points is a solid effort. Well done. Then we come to Haas, and it was looking like they were going to be a disaster season this year. Of course, a double brake failure in the first round at Austria. The Styrian Grand Prix didn't go much better either, did it? Both cars finished, but they were mithering down at the back. Really pathetic. And then we came to the Hungarian Grand Prix, and what can be said for that? It looked like it was going to be another disaster class from Haas, sadly, with them both out in Q1 once again. And then all of a sudden they decided that they were going to box on the formation lap, put some dry tyres on, and wow, oh wow, they're up there in 3rd and 4th for quite a while in the race, before sadly steadily tumbling down the order as the faster cars put their dry tyres on. And of course the overall pace of the Haas just isn't there at all this season at the moment. Again, I'm blaming the Ferrari engines because they're now legal. But of course, that fantastic strategy on the formation lap managed to net them a 1 point after K-Mag crossed the line in P9. They were then given a bullshit penalty by the FIA for, oh, you can't instruct a driver on the formation lap. You can't drive without any driving aids on the formation lap. And basically what happened was the 2 drivers went, I think we need to box for slicks, and the team went, confirm box. But apparently that's illegal. We can't be doing that on the formation lap. It just destroys the entire championship. We had a Ferrari last season where the engine was burning oil for performance and was suddenly really quick, but that's okay. But but how dare you tell your driver to box on a formation lap? My God, just brings the whole championship into disrepute, doesn't it? So they were awarded an additional 10-second time penalty for both cars, dropping K-Mag from P9 to P10, but still picked up 1 crucial point, and that could really be crucial in their battle around with Alfa and, of course, Williams come the end of the season. So It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. I can't see Haas going forward at all, sadly, in the next few races or whenever, really, because that engine is so bad. And I do blame the engine more than I blame the team. As we saw, the brake failure problems at Austria wasn't a good start to the season at all. They sorted it out for Styria, which was at the same circuit, so you think, well, you've sorted it out there, but brakes were still an issue. And then Hungary, a masterclass. But that was only strategy. Had it not been for that strategy, they'd have been down at the back for the entirety of the race. So for Haas, I'm going to award them a solid 6 points. I think they've had a solid enough start to the season in terms of dealing with what they've got, but the reliability issues that they've had in FP1, FP2, in qualifying with Grosjean especially, brake issues, they need to iron out those problems, and then they need a strategic masterclass every weekend before they can even start thinking about getting into the points again. So that 1 point might be all we see from Haas this season if there's not another high race of attrition. Then, of course, we come to Alfa Romeo, 8th in the standings at the minute with a whopping 2 points. And it's the first time we've really seen Alfa go backwards after the Frederick Vasseur era has really rejuvenated the championship, of course, and revitalised their championship hopes. You know, of course, 2017 stepping in, taking over from Manisha Kaltenborn, and really just pumping effort into that team, getting Alfa Romeo back in and bringing on 2 fantastic drivers, of course, with Leclerc and Ericsson, bringing him up to speed, because Ericsson had a fantastic 2018 as well. 2019 delivered on that even further. And then this year we've just taken a step back, sadly. And yeah, it's a shame to say that, really. But again, it's that Ferrari engine in the back of it which is costing them the most performance. So judging them on the races so far this season, of course, Giovinazzi picked up 2 lucky points in the first round. Just basically finishing the race got you points that weekend. But sadly they did make an error with Kimi Raikkonen in that race, as his wheel fell off as it wasn't attached properly in the pit stops. And that meant that they've lost out on a double points finish there. And again, that could be costly in that battle, because it is really going to be Alfa, Haas and Williams battling for those final points paying positions, and in the constructors order as well, that they're going to be struggling. So any point in that 3 is going to be really crucial. Of course, we've seen Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen struggling always out in Q1 and really struggling. I mean, they lined up in the back row at Hungary, 19th and 20th, so they were firmly the last team on the grid, and that's such a shame to say, and it's such a shame to see, really, as well. So I'm going to award Alfa just 5 points, and I think it's a shame. I hope they book their ideas up somehow, but yeah, that Ferrari engine's just not doing them any justice at the moment, is it, sadly? So yeah, 5 points for Alfa. It's a shame to see you step back as far as you have compared to the last few seasons. But yeah, hopefully another lucky day like Haas need, and sometimes, you know, Williams need, they could score some more points. Then we come to AlphaTauri with 7 points on the board currently. Point scoring positions for both Pierre Gasly and Danny Kvyat, which is a solid enough effort. Danny Kvyat had suspension failure at the first round at Austria on the dying laps, although he just tumbled out the points at that point anyway. But Gasly has been the man of the moment, really, with that team in the first 3 races, hasn't he? He has done a solid job indeed, and a worthy effort by him. But then the likes of Hungary, where we didn't see anything of Gasly in the race, or indeed any other sessions, because he constantly had a problem. Such a shame to see. So I think had the reliability been there for the AlphaTauri team, points were definitely possible at Hungary, because let's face it, Gasly, with a car that wasn't performing well, still got 10th in qualifying. He qualified Q3, got through into Q3, didn't set a lap then because his problem was too severe. And in the race, he was out before anyone really cared to mention or do anything about it, where you could have worked out where he was going to be in terms of pace. Danny Kvyat has struggled a little bit more, but did pick up 1 point at the Stryian Grand Prix, so that's a worth noting about, worthy effort there. But yeah, Danny Kvyat has been shown up by his teammate Gasly in the first 3 rounds of the season, I should say. And yeah, a difficult one to judge AlphaTauri, really, because I do think they've taken a step back compared to last year overall, but because the other teams around them are struggling as well, it's made them look a little bit better. So for AlphaTauri, I'm going to award them just 6 points. Weekends that Gasly had is just not acceptable. A Formula 1 team having an issue in every single session with one car is just, it's poor. It is just a poor effort, that. So 6 points I think is fair for AlphaTauri, because more points were possible had it not been for that reliability issue for Gasly at the Hungarian Grand Prix. and they need to take the points when they can. And then we come to Renault, currently 6th on the standings with 12 points on the board, and again, it should be a whole lot more for them. And Renault are just turning into a bit of a joke of the championship, aren't they? Let's be honest. I know we're having problems for the lower down teams with the Ferrari engines, but Renault are just the joke. You know, they keep swapping the driver lineups. They're getting rid of Danny Ricciardo next year now. And I just can't see how they can get any consistency if you're not keeping the drivers. Since their return on 2016, they've been swapping a driver at least once every year. And sometimes we've been having a double swap with the likes of Sainz coming in place for Jolie and Palmer midway through 2017, which I agree was a good move at that point. But, you know, it's just been swapping and changing every single season. And it's just not working for you. You're investing all this money in these top-rate drivers, such as Danny Ricciardo, and then blaming him when it doesn't deliver. But the car is not capable of delivering. Cyril's just turned himself into a bit of a dick, the team manager there. He's just a bit of an arse, as proven on the Drive to Survive series as well, which doesn't show Renault in a good light. When it's a big public domain like that, on Netflix, a main championship series that people are starting to watch Formula 1 because of Netflix and because of the Drive to Survive series, and Cyril looks like a twat. Not good luck for Renault, is it? So I think he needs to go. I think before anything major happens in Renault, in terms of improvement and development of the car, and seeing a general progression forwards, we're not going to see anything until he goes. So I think, you know, you've got to get rid of him before you start getting rid of drivers. Esteban Ocon has under-delivered, I feel, in terms of what his capabilities were. But let's not forget he did take a year out of the sport, which is big. Okay, yeah, it might have been in a simulator, but it's not real life, is it? Do you know what I mean? Playing F1 2019 for a year isn't really going to make you race ready. So yeah, I think we're going to give him a couple more races before we start to assess really where his capabilities are. He did pick up some points, of course, in the first round at Austria, but he was off the pace in terms of his teammate, but his teammate broke down that race. He didn't. He picked up the points. But apart from that, he's been overshadowed by Ricciardo in all three races. But at the same time, that is what Ricciardo is paid to do. He's there to deliver the results. And when he's delivering results that are P8, you think, well, the car's shit then, isn't it? So yeah, unfortunately for Renault, I'm just going to score them 3 points. I think they are the joke of the paddock at the moment. I think they really, really are struggling. And yeah, just 3 points for Renault, because with that, we'll get rid of Cyril, we might see something. But we haven't seen any big steps up in their progress since when we had 2016 to 2017. Because that was a big step up for them. You know, only getting a points twice, I think it was, with K-Mag and Palmer once. And then a multitude of points with Hulkenberg, and particularly when Sainz joined the team at the latter of 2017. But, you know, that was a big step up for them. And then since then, we've just kind of gone a little bit better, a little bit better. Oh, we've gone a bit shitter, not as good. Shame to see, but Cyril is the main reason for that. I think he's a knob. So 3 points to Renault. Then we come to Ferrari, languishing 5th in the championship. And I said that Renault looked like a bit of a joke. Well, I'd forgotten about Ferrari briefly. Of course, they are the biggest joke of the paddock at the moment. What can be said about them? We've got the legal Ferrari engine in it now, but I'm blaming Ferrari solely. You know, As and Alfa are suppliers. You know, they are a customer. They are a customer to Ferrari, not their fault. Ferrari, you've built a shit engine and you've made it legal, and that's your fault. So for that reason, I can really I'm just going to lay into you. I really am. I think you've done a shit job. I think you're crap. You're making the sport look like a joke. And then you're crying and whinging at the DAS system, and it's just, I know Red Bull have been going on about it as well, but Mercedes having the DAS system or not having the DAS system will not make them this much quicker than you. You really need to deliver, Ferrari. Step your bloody ideas up, will you? You're treating Seb like shit, and yeah, I know Seb's leaving, but you never even gave him the option to stay. You never offered him a contract like you said you did in the press conferences and stuff. Load of shite. So Ferrari are just making themselves into a bit of a joke at the minute. Carlos Sainz is going to be regretting the decision signing on the dotted line before they've even seen the performance of this season. Just such a shame. They're just pathetic. They are just pathetic. They did have a good race in Hungary, with Sebastian Vettel at least, but then even then Sebastian had to tell him to go on the mediums, not the soft tyres, because look where Charles ended up being on the softs. So yeah, you've got your team, you've got a driver that's trying to race around and do the best job, and then he's having to be the pit strategist as well while he's driving the car. What a joke. What a joke, Ferrari. You're an absolute farce of a team now. Benotto, you've got to go, pal. Again, you've not done anything. They shouldn't have got rid of fucking Arrivederci or whatever it was called. Arriva Bene. They shouldn't have got rid of him. He was a solid job. He did a solid thing. He was perfect for that team. And it was also things like he was staying behind when the mechanics were still working up late. He stayed. Benotto just fucks off on a private jet after every fucking session. Oh yeah, that's it lads, I'm off. See you later. Not very good for team building, that, is it? So yeah, unfortunately for Ferrari, it's going to be a big fat 0. Big fat 0 for Ferrari. You don't deserve any points. You're 5th in the standings, for fuck's sake. You're the top team. You've been in it since the start of Formula 1 ever. You shouldn't be down there. Pathetic effort. And then, of course, we come to Racing Point. And what can be said about them? It's been an okay start to the season for them, but I think that it's been a case of missed opportunities, really. I think it has, because Perez was put on the wrong strategy at Austria, which meant that it was, of course, Norris's podium, as opposed to it would have been Sergio's, without a doubt, because that car was quicker. But the worn tyres on the car at the end just didn't have the capability to hold the McLaren behind. Then we had the Stryian Grand Prix, where Perez was mounting an attack on Albon, of all people, in the Red Bull, and he just clipped his wing, deranged it, and that was it, and he ended up tumbling down to 6th. And then we had the Hungarian Grand Prix, where Stroll delivered a solid 4th place, but Perez didn't. So it's been an up and down season. We've had Perez delivering, Stroll not for the first 2 rounds, and then we had Stroll delivering, but Perez not for the 3rd round. So if they can get both cars up there where they should be, like at Hungary, they should have been 4th and 5th, without a doubt, but in the end, Perez finished 7th. So without that, they'd be easily 3rd in the Constructors by now, maybe even pushing 2nd with Red Bull, because they have been quicker, and of course Red Bull have had reliability issues in the first round at Austria with a double retirement, so they could even be ahead of Red Bull at this point, but sadly they're not. It has been an okay start to them though, and I do feel that they're only going to get stronger as the season goes on. Like I keep mentioning, the Hungarian Grand Prix promised so much when they were 3rd and 4th, the B-Tech Mercedes of course, lining up behind the A-level Mercedes. So yeah, without a doubt, Mercedes power in the back of it, a Mercedes car painted pink. It's got the capabilities to deliver, but now both drivers just need to show it. The strategy just needs to be there a little bit more as well. But solid enough start for Racing Point, and for that reason I'm going to score them a solid 8 points. I think they've done a good job, and I think that they will just get stronger as the season goes on, and the next 3 races, everything is going to be back to normal. We're going to see them up at the front with the Mercedes, and I think Red Bulls are going to struggle to beat them as well come on the day. So for that reason, 8 points I think is fair. I think they've screwed up the strategy at Austria, but the rest of it has just been mainly driver errors. So for that reason, 8 points, solid start. I think they're going to be fighting for... They're definitely going to get 3rd in the Constructors this year, without a doubt, in my mind anyway. But whether they could challenge for 2nd or not, we'll have to wait and see. Then 3rd in the Constructors, just 1 point ahead of Racing Point at the minute with 41 points. It is, of course, McLaren, and after 2 fantastic races in the first 2 rounds, unfortunately it all came tumbling back down to reality with a bang at Hungary, with Carlos Sainz finishing P10 on the road, elevated to P9, taking home just 2 points for the team. But prior to that, we had some fantastic efforts. We had a 3rd and a 5th, of course, at Austria, as we mentioned, with Norris taking 3rd, Sainz taking 5th. In the 2nd round at Styria, it looked like it was going to be a mid-grid finish, or going to be around an 8th, 9th place finish. Sainz, of course, boxed in to get that final point for fastest lap, which he did deserve, but a 3-point pickup after starting 3rd on the grid was a disappointment for him, and Norris ended up climbing up through the field and taking 5th. And as we mentioned, Hungary just picking up 2 points. So we need to see more of the first rounds. If they're going to start challenging for 3rd in the Constructors, maybe even 2nd, keeping Racing Point at bay, they've really got to keep delivering on the first 2 rounds performances, and let's have less of what happened in Hungary. But unfortunately, with it being a double-header at Silverstone coming up, it's very similar to Hungary in terms of track abrasion and a long circuit as well. So straight line speed crucial, with quite some long straights at Silverstone, so maybe the McLaren's not going to be able to deliver there either. So we'll have to wait and see on that. We know they didn't have the fastest car, but they did the good strategy in the first 2 rounds. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them. I think 4th is realistic in the Constructors for them, but I think they need to fight a hell of a lot more to get higher up the order. So I'm going to score McLaren 7 points. because I think what they've done in the first 2 rounds is good and fantastic, and what they did they really deserved. But I think, unfortunately, the 3rd round showed where they really actually are, the tail end of the top 10, so sort of like 7th downwards. But I hope I'm proven wrong. So I'm going to score them 7 points, because I think they have maybe taken a step back from last year, but yet we haven't seen it. We've just seen a glimmer of it last round. Then we come to Red Bull, sat 2nd in the standings with 55 points, and after a double retirement in, of course, the first round at Austria, you've got to think that's a good recovery for the first 2, for the next 2 races to pick up some solid points and to get 14 points clear of McLaren is a decent effort, but then you realise the 70-odd points behind Mercedes, and you think, wow, oh wow, we're in for a long old season this way, aren't we? I think Red Bull, providing they don't have any more silly DNFs, they've certainly got 2nd in the bag, without a doubt, in the Constructors' Championship. That's easy enough to predict. It's going to be a solid 2nd place, but we need to sort out Albon's car. I'm not convinced it's all Albon's fault, as you've heard me mention in the Cruel Room previously. I think there's something underlying with that 2nd car, because there's no way that Albon is that bad. He does have good flashes of brilliance, though. I think Hungary, given his race weekend, how it was underperforming, knocked out in Q2, and then in the race finishing P5, is a solid effort. So there is pace in the car, but it's just unlocking the last bit of potential. We know the team is built around Verstappen. We always known that. That's why Ricciardo left. But it won't be built around him in such a way that the car is set up for just Max. Of course, it'll be built around Albon in the setup sense, but there's something just missing. Just something missing from that 2nd car. So hopefully Albon can get a podium this year at least. Well, he's going to need podiums, really, if he's going to keep that Red Bull seat. But I'm not solely blaming him at the moment, because those first 3 rounds he did what he could with the car that he got delivered. Regardless of the contact with Hamilton at the first race, where he was challenging for the win, the car broke down with electrical problems anyway. So in some respects it was good that Hamilton took him off, because otherwise he'd have been leading and then broken down. So yeah, unfortunate there. But I'm going to award Red Bull, I'm going to give them 6.5. 6.5 points. I feel they've done better than some teams, but I don't feel they've done as good as they could. They need to unlock that 2nd car potential, without a doubt. They need to really sit down and see what Albon needs to get him really far up the order, and not to be 30 seconds behind Max come the end of a race, because that's a big chunk of time. And they do need to iron out the reliability issues that they had in the first round. We've never seen any other issues since then, but those double retirements there were really crucial to losing out such big points on Mercedes. And yeah, they need to just make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. So 6.5 points for Red Bull. And then, of course, we come to Mercedes-Benz. And if Hamilton and Bottas were in a championship of their own and not joining together to form Mercedes team, they'd still be 1st and 2nd in the Constructors. That's how far ahead they are, with 122 points combined. Yeah, unbelievable stuff really, isn't it? Hamilton had a scruffy race in the first round. Bottas delivered there, and then since then it's just been easy for him really. A 1-2 at Styria, the 2nd round, and then of course a 1-3 at Hungary, where Bottas wasn't really showing his true pace there. So what can we say about the team? Well, the team haven't made any errors. They've not put a foot wrong, they've not put a wheel wrong, they've not done anything at all out of place that I can see at the moment. The team has, I mean, let's face it, we've got a 2019 Mercedes on the grid with Racing Point. We're still a second faster than them, and that was last year's car. That just shows you how much effort Mercedes have put into this 2020 car. And of course it will be the 2021 car as well now, with the rulings being delayed for the 2022 season. So yeah, I mean, I can't really say anything other than well done Mercedes, to be honest, as much as it pains me to say it, because I've never been a Mercedes fan. But when you're inventing something like the DAS system, and we saw it in testing, and literally I was like a little schoolboy then. It annoyed me because it was Mercedes that had invented this system, but I was looking at it going, we've got something new. I was so excited because it's something that's been missing from Formula 1 for so long, since like the blown diffuser and the F-duct. We haven't really seen anything that's been so ingenious that teams have had to go, let's try and get that chucked out. It's brilliant. It is brilliant. They've ruled it. The FIA have ruled it illegal for next year, but for this year it's fine. And they've taken it as part of the steering system, as opposed to the suspension and changing setup, which is what Red Bull are appealing. And it's a grey area, without a doubt, you know, but a fantastic effort to warm the inner edges and the outer edges of the tyres and get the temperature of the the carcass temperature even throughout, and to use that inside wheel tread, which never gets used on a race car ever, and to be able to do that just to get that fantastic effort. And you can see when, like, such as Hungary, Charles Leclerc pitted on the same lap virtually as what Hamilton did. Charles went on the hards, Hamilton went on the mediums. Hamilton only stopped for the soft tyres to go get fastest lap, whereas Charles's hard tyres had just died. That was it, they were gone. Gone, lads. A whole compound different, and yet Hamilton was just breezing off into the distance with the mediums. Crazy, crazy stuff, and I love it. I love it. It's ingenious. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, Mercedes, I can give you 10 points, and that's all I can give you. I think Hamilton let you down at Austria. Bottas let you down at Hungary, but that is not the team's fault. That's the driver's fault. So yeah, big congratulations to Mercedes. I'm annoyed that you're the fastest team once again this year, and you've absolutely pissed everyone out in the water now. You've literally, you are first and second now. There is no one challenging you, but you've earned it. So well done you. There you go, guys. That was the crawl room for the Formula 1 team review. And yeah, let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Is there any teams that you think, do you know what, they've had an impeccable start, or any teams that you go, I don't really quite agree with there, Josh, I think I'd have given more or less points? Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. As always, I look forward to seeing what you've put and your reactions. But, you know, it's just a whole chatty series, this. Let me know what you'd score the teams. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and much love.